Since Frisco and Ziggy didn't really hit it off today, I'm going to be introducing him to Studman, who he already knows, and Gus. Studman has had a stall next to Ziggy for the whole time he's been over here at the barn. Today is the first day that I'm turning Studman and Big Gus out this year. These two boys do know each other. They got turned out all last spring and summer together. Both of these boys do have some metabolic concerns, so I do need to be careful about how long they're out on the grass. If they get along with Ziggy, I'll be able to turn them out in the morning for a few hours when the sugars are low.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Studman could definitely use the extra exercise of getting out and being able to run around in the morning for a few hours. It is still pretty smoky out, and as soon as the AQI is down to around 80, I will be starting his undersaddle training. He has had his shoes off for about a week, and I'm going to fix him up with a new pair pretty soon. He does seem pretty sound galloping around the arena this morning though. This will be the first time that Big Gus is meeting Ziggy. He is the kind of horse that really gets along with pretty much everyone. He's very low on the totem pole, so hopefully Ziggy and him will be able to find some common ground. Ziggy spent last night by himself, and then this morning I gave him breakfast alone. Now that he doesn't have food to distract him, he is back to pacing along the fence line again. Since he still is in a little bit of the rehab stage, I would love it if he didn't work off all of the extra calories I've been trying to get him to eat. It looks like Studman is just about done running around for the morning. I was really happy to see that Gus isn't very sore at all anymore, so I think I got him off of that other big pasture just in time. These two only took a minute or two to get reacquainted, and now they're pretty relaxed in this big arena.
Zig! Zig!
It's around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I am scheduled to go pick up some new round bales of hay later, so I've got to get these boys in together so they can work out any kinks that they might have.
Hey, Zig.
Other than doing a little bit of fence walking, Zig doesn't seem too stressed in his new accommodations. He got a little bit annoyed seeing the boys out in the pasture last night, but he did have free choice grass hay. But once that ran out, you can see he has been pacing back and forth for quite a while now. Both Studman and Gus are pretty chill. They won't do very much running around at all, so hopefully they'll be able to calm Ziggy down a little bit.
Come on.
As usual, Tiny is making sure that I stay on track for the day. Frisco is happy to be back with Prim. Scarlet has been getting turned out in the smaller arena, and if she continues to behave, she might get introduced to
Zig.
Prim and Frisco as well. After observing Ziggy for the last couple of months, I have a feeling he's the kind of horse that will just walk and walk and walk and burn off all of the extra calories he needs just because he's a little bit on the nervous side. All this afternoon he had access to his pasture, and he just didn't want to go out into it alone. He decided to walk the fence instead.
Buddy?
So hopefully with this guy around, he'll be confident enough to go out of his pen. They will
Come
be
on.
hanging out in the dry lot all this evening just to make sure they get along. But after that, these guys can go back out on the pasture.
What are you doing?
It definitely seemed like Ziggy wasn't too sure about Studman at first, but these boys do know each other. Ziggy seemed like he was
Alright.
really interested in coming in and maybe going for a ride. There are a few trails around that I can't take my normal horses on, but Ziggy I think would really love. So when the smoke is gone, hopefully I'll get to trailer out to some of those before winter comes. He's okay in the arena, but he really just loves to get out and hit the trail. It looks like Studman is cleaning up some of Ziggy's leftovers. Because they already knew each other, they are not having any trouble getting along.
What are you doing, bud? I'll take.
It looks like Ziggy is still a little bit nervous, so maybe he'll settle down once Big Gus is in here. I can tell that Ziggy just wants to be friends with Studman. They really got along well when they were both in the barn next to each other. I'm a little bit surprised, however, that Studman is letting him get so close.
You okay, Zig?
Studman was extremely food aggressive when I very first got him, and it took quite a while for him to settle around and be able to eat around the other horses without causing a bunch of drama. Gus found another bucket full of some leftover alfalfa leaves, and Ziggy swooped in to see if Studman would let him have a little snack, even though this has been available to him all day.
You okay, Zig?
Compared to how Frisco and Ziggy reacted to each other yesterday, I think these boys are going to be a much better fit for him. I've been trying really hard to have the smallest amount of horses in the barn as possible. It just saves me a lot more work in the morning.
What's up, buddy?
If these three boys get along, they could potentially stay out here all winter and have access to hopefully the new round bales that I'm getting. Ziggy still does need to plump up a little bit, so unfortunately I will have to separate him to give him some more supplemental feed. But at least it doesn't look like Studman and Gus are going to run him off of the food. They're getting along pretty well, actually. I had thought that Gus might be missing Pete, but honestly, he doesn't seem to miss him at all. They haven't called to each other, and he seems to be pretty content just to be on his own with Studman.
You okay, Zig? Boy, Zig. Ponies?
After a very short amount of time, Ziggy really started to relax and calm down. I do think he was a little bit stressed being in this dry lot all by himself, even though he could see a bunch of other horses all morning. Just as these boys started to settle down, I heard my taskmaster coming.
Tiny.
I do still have to hook up my trailer before I go out to pick up the hay. There is a lot of hay around me this time of year. It's actually pretty cheap this year because there is so much. I could go pick up some round bales from right down the road, but I've been on the hunt for hay that has a very low sugar content for these boys. I want to be able to allow them free access to the round bale, so it needs to be pretty low in protein and sugar for me to be able to do that. The hay that these boys are chomping on right now is around 10% starch and sugar, and the protein is actually 22%. This is that really nice alfalfa hay I got for Frisco. The hay I'm heading out to pick up is only 5% protein and 6% sugar, so it's a really good filler hay to keep the boys distracted all day long. I haven't seen the hay in real life, but the pictures I got sent, it looked really good, so hopefully it'll work out. I have been toying with the idea of getting some round bales for the worst part of winter, so it's easier on my back and there's just a lot less stuff for me to do. It'll also be beneficial for when we move. If I can have just 2 separate pens of horses that are sharing feed, it'll be a lot easier to put up the initial fencing and to feed them while we're getting everything squared away. Since I will be completely shutting my eBay store down on the 5th of August, it has opened up a lot more areas for us to search for property. Since I won't have to be going into town to ship things every day or buy things to sell, there are a few places that were crossed off our list that we can actually go back and look at again. It's pretty exciting stuff, and I'm trying not to get too excited about it because I think we're probably still a ways off. We've kind of missed our window for buying a house this summer.
Come on, boys.
The thought of moving this many horses with winter sneaking up is not an exciting prospect for me either. Spring really is the ideal time for us to move because the horses can be outside in fairly favorable weather. The roads will be so much nicer for traveling. I will have to make several loads with my truck and trailer to move everybody, so that is something that is in the back of my mind. With the boys turned out for the evening and Ziggy, Gus, and Studman getting along quite well, I feel confident that I can leave and they're going to be okay. Since I've never been to this place before, I just looked at the map and I think it's going to take me a lot longer to get there than I had first anticipated. Half of my trip tonight is going to be on a gravel road, so it is going to take me a while to get where I'm going. I really wish that we could find a place out this way. It is really pretty out here, but unfortunately, there is not a lot of land that comes up for sale. There are a lot of really big ranches around here that have been around since the 1800s, so it's really hard to find a little 20 or 40 acre parcel of land for sale. I thought this might have been an old Sears house, like the kind you order from a catalog and get shipped out on the train, but as I got closer I realized the skylights probably weren't part of those earlier houses.
Proceed to the route.
I did get turned around for a little while, but I eventually got to where I was going, got the hay loaded up, and headed back home. There was a storm coming in and you could see the sky starting to get really dark out. Unfortunately, I am heading kind of back into the rain, so hopefully the hay won't get too wet. The bales that I'm picking up are net wrapped, but that doesn't protect it really from rain if it were to get saturated. Since this trailer is new to me, I still am kind of testing it out and getting used to it. It has been well maintained and it's not very old, but it's always good to check the bearings once you're hauling a pretty heavy load like this. I definitely could have brought 5 bales home instead of 4, but I got a little bit nervous when he loaded it up that I might not be able to roll these off as I planned. I do not have a tractor, which would be really helpful in a situation like this, but I'm pretty sure that I can figure out how to roll these off and not get squashed. These round bales aren't super heavy. They are only supposed to be around 900 pounds. I should be able to push them on my own once I get this one on the top off. I spent a few minutes calculating the best way to do that, and I decided that getting the four-wheeler and giving the bottom one a little tug would probably work the best. It seemed like it was going to take a few really good tugs, but then hopefully they would just roll on down. One of the reasons I stopped getting round bales is because my supplier sold their property and I don't have a tractor to unload them. So before I bought this trailer, it was really hard to get round bales. There is someone locally that will deliver one at a time to you, but they are really expensive that way, and it just doesn't make any sense for me to do that. It looked like my calculations worked, and after some supervising from Tiny, I was able to just push all of the bales off the trailer. I was pretty nervous that I was going to turn Tiny into a pancake. She was really busy investigating the new hay and making sure it passed her strict quality control measures. In case you guys are wondering, I paid $150 a ton for this hay, which is pretty reasonable. It was $270 for all 4 bales of hay. I would really like to get these bales out into the pasture this evening, so I've got to move the four-wheeler and unhook the trailer, and then I can use my truck to pull these giant bales into the dry lots.
Peter? Oh, sorry, Pete.
It was pretty interesting to see Pete and Goose grooming each other. That is something that I didn't expect to see. I used to get really bogged down about not being able to afford some pieces of equipment that would make my life so much easier. A big tractor just is not in the budget right now, so for now I'll have to deal with doing it this way.
Come on, boys. Come on, boys.
Just to make it easier, I am going to move these boys out to the pasture.
Come on. Come on, Studman. You kidding me? Come on. Come on.
With the horses out of the way, I can now carefully drag this giant bale of hay into the dry lot for them. I am not going to use any type of feeder on this, but I will put a net around this giant bale just so the horses aren't pulling it apart and wasting it. For some reason, Tiny was super jealous today, so I took some time to give her extra snuggles. A lot of people will leave this net wrapping on to hold it together for the horses, but they can eat it and colic. Horses have teeny tiny brains and they love to eat, so it's not a surprise that they accidentally ingest some of the netting sometimes. I did buy some new nets and it looks like I definitely got the wrong size. I do have some older nets that need repairing, so I'm just going to have to use those for now. It looks like the boys are really enjoying their time out on the grass. And with the new net on, it looks like they are ready to come back in.
Boys. Zig. Come on, boys. Come on, boys. Come on, Teddy.
For the second time today, Tiny almost got turned into a pancake.
Zig, come on, Ziggy.
This is the first time I'm feeding them their ration balancer in the new
Come here,
dry
Zig.
lot.
Come here, Zig. Come on, buddy. Same food here.
With these boys back in their dry lot, I can turn the other horses back out.
Okay, boys. Come on. That's swell. Buddy. Go on. Go on, buddy.
I have still been giving these boys some alfalfa when they come in the morning. So they don't really need a round bale, but I'm hoping to transition them over. Even though this dry lot is a lot bigger, it is much more tricky to get a big round bale pulled through. I didn't set up the round bales quite right, so it was a tight squeeze getting them into position. I was able to put the first round bale in no problems, but this one did present a little bit of trouble for me. As soon as I went to drive away, my strap just slipped right off the bale and I had to put it on again. I thought that I could squeeze through the door and I got momentarily stuck, but eventually I was able to wiggle my way through. Not an ideal situation to be in when you are all by yourself, but I did call my husband to let him know I was doing things that were a little bit dangerous. My second attempt to get this round bale in through the gate also failed. After some slight adjustments, I was ready to try again. It really seems like the third time should have been the charm, but again, my strap just slipped right off. Every once in a while, the tasks I plan on doing just happen to take a whole lot longer than usual. But thankfully, on the fourth attempt, I was able to wiggle this brown bale in and put it in a pretty good spot for the boys. I was going to put 2 round bales in, but I think I'll settle for just 1 tonight. The next morning when I came out to do chores, it was significantly nicer out. The few little showers that we had last night really knocked down the smoke. It looks like Whiplash and Gus and Ziggy are getting along really well in their new setup. It seems like they did eat a bunch of the hay through the net last night, but it looks like they're also excited to get out on the pasture this morning. It was really nice to finally see Ziggy accepted into a smaller herd. Hopefully these boys will continue to get along and I'll have a lot less work to do feeding and cleaning stalls. These 3 boys are just going to get turned out for maybe 2 hours this morning and then I'll bring them in this afternoon. Ziggy could stay out 24/7 to graze, but the other boys do need to go on a diet, so they will be coming in. Finally, it's starting to look like real summer in Montana. Hopefully the nice weather will stick around for a while. Thank you so much for watching and stay tuned for the next video.